Hey guys, I haven't posted any videos recently, because I've been unwell. I mean, I've made videos or made partial videos. I made a video yesterday, but not yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? No, it was yesterday. Yesterday morning, and I was gonna post it yesterday afternoon, but then I totally forgot. And yeah, um, my mind has just been all over the place lately. I've been mentally unwell and physically unwell. Been having issues with like anxiety and stuff like that. And obviously, where the colder weather's coming in now, that is affecting my physical health as well. So, yeah, which is why I'm wearing a big thick hoodie. I keep feeling like I'm really cold and I start shivering, so I might put my hoodie on, and then about 10 minutes later I'm like, I'm overheating, I'm sweating, so I've got to take the hoodie off, and then I'm just like that all day. Hoodies on, off, on, off. Yeah, so you have to excuse me, I'm trying to sort out my morning meds. Because I'm a little bit late taking them. But yeah, so I've had really tricky couple of weeks. But I've had good news as well in all of that. I had quite a stressful day yesterday to start with, but then it kind of got better. So I think last week, you have to forgive me, my brain is literally soup at the moment. So, like, retaining information about dates and times and stuff like that is not happening. But yeah, so I think it was last week. It might have been the week before. I went to the eye hospital. You may have seen in other videos where I've talked about my eye problems, and it's been going on for a couple of years. And I've been trying to get answers as to what's going on, because I've had a lot of issues with this eye, and this used to be my dominant, stronger eye, because I've always had issues with lazy eye and stuff like that since I can remember, since I was like a little kid. And I've had surgery on both eyes to remove lenses and stuff like that, because my lenses became detached because of the connective tissue broke down. So yeah, I had to have them removed. So I have no natural lenses in my eyes, and I have no lenses at all in my eyes. I think it was last year, the year before, I was sent to the eye hospital again to look into getting the, what do you call it, prosthetic lenses put in my eyes so that I can see without glasses. And yeah, that was a bust, because there's no connective tissue in my eye that they can connect it to. So yeah, that was no good. But yeah, I've had a lot of issues the past, I'd say 5 years or so, something like that, with this eye. It started with like really bad irritation, like itchiness, and it was very red, very swollen, and it was leaking like goop and stuff. And it was like that for a couple of years. And I kept going back to the eye hospital and eye casualty and stuff like that. And they kept looking in my eyes and stuff like that and saying, we can't really do much, can't really see anything in there properly because of the swelling and the amount of bloodshotness, and it's just impossible to see anything. So they just kept giving me eye drops and these weird ointment cream things to put in my eye. And I was using them hoping, this will help it, but no, it didn't. It seemed to make it worse. And it started to affect my sight, and my eye became extremely sensitive to light. And as you can see now, this is my lazy eye, and I've developed a squint in this eye too. So my weaker eye has had to take over and has straightened itself up naturally to take over so it could see, because I couldn't see out of this eye. My peripheral vision, I've always had a bit of an issue with like peripheral vision, but peripheral vision on this side got really bad. I couldn't see anything here. So yeah, made life a bit tricky, because if I wanted to see something just here, I'd have to turn my head and look with this eye, not out of the corner of this eye. It's really, really weird. And like depth perception was a bit off as well, which was interesting, because like there would be things on the table that I'd be trying to grab, and I'd overreach and a lot of the time knock things over and stuff. So yeah, I've been trying to get answers as to what the problem is for years, and I gave up at one point because I was just like, they're not helping me, they're just making it worse with all these weird ointments and potions and stuff that they're putting in my eyes. It's making the swelling a lot worse, it made the sight a lot worse. So I gave up going to the eye hospital. And I just thought, well, I'm stuck with this now. They can't seem to make it better. Every eye specialist I saw, I either got different stories from them, which really confused me, or they were more interested in this eye than they were the problem eye, and stuff like that. Or they just say, well, we can't help you because we don't deal with that type of problem, we deal with laser surgery. And I'm like, I don't need laser surgery though. And they said, yeah, and you can't have laser surgery because of your condition, because of the Marfan syndrome, the connective tissue and all. It probably won't be safe for you because you don't have much connective tissue in your eyes. So it could damage your eyes even more, the laser surgery. So I'm like, well, why have I been sent to see you for laser surgery? And they said, we don't know. So I think there's been a lot of miscommunication there. But yeah, I went to get my new glasses. Again, brain soup. I think it was last year. But yeah, when I went to get these new glasses, because I hadn't had new glasses in several years, because one of the eye specialists I saw at first told me, yeah, don't get new glasses until you've sorted out this eye problem, because it could cause more issues with that eye. So then I was a bit anxious to get new glasses, you know. So, but then in the end, I was like, the fact that I have old glasses is now affecting the working eye. So I was struggling to see properly out of the working eye, and then my old glasses got broke, so much so that I couldn't wear them anymore. So I was walking around with very little sight, and it was impacting me trying to use my wheelchair. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to ignore what that specialist said, and I'm going to go and get new glasses anyway. And when I went to the opticians last year, they said to me, well, no, it wouldn't really affect your bad eye getting new glasses. I don't know why that specialist said that to you, but we can sort you out with new glasses now. And I was like, okay, got that sorted, could see better. And they said, what we're going to do is we're going to send you to a different specialist at a different hospital, to see what they say. If you've been getting wrong answers and being misled by the hospital you've been going to, you might get better answers and better treatment from a different hospital. So I said, yeah, okay, I'm up for trying that, you know. So I went to this different hospital. They did loads of tests on my eyes and stuff. And by this time, this was only last year? No, this was this year. I went to see this specialist, I believe. Beginning of this year, sometime, I think. But yeah, anyway, they had a look at my eyes, and by this time, the irritation and swelling and all that sort of stuff had cleared up, and it was a lot better. I don't know how it cleared up. I don't know what caused it in the first place, but I don't know what cleared it up. But because I wasn't really putting any drops in it or anything like that, because every time I was putting drops, even stuff I bought over the counter at the chemist, using that on my eyes, like eye mist sprays and stuff like that, I tried all of that, and none of that was really helping at all. So I hadn't been using anything like that. I just thought I'll leave it, and you know, but yeah, it just cleared up on its own. So I don't know whether it was some sort of weird environmental factor that was causing some sort of weird allergic reaction in my eye. I don't know. And maybe for some reason that environmental factor has been removed, so my eye has been able to recover. I don't know. I have no answers there. I still have no answers as to what that whole irritation thing was, you know. So if it does come back in the future, I'm still going to be stumped, you know. But there's no sign of any irritation or anything now, you know. It's all looking good now, on that front. But yeah, this specialist I saw at the beginning of this year, she sort of like said, yeah, your sight seems fine. She said, obviously because of your squint and the fact that your eye has gone lazy, she said something about the muscles around the eye have stopped working. They've kind of broke down a bit because I've not been using this eye for a couple of years. So like, yeah, the muscles around the eye that work the eye and move the eye around have kind of broke down. So that explains the squint and stuff like that. And she said, I'm going to refer you to a specialist at the original hospital that I went to for this eye problem. And I thought, oh God, here we go. I'm going to get messed around again. But she said, this is a different clinic than you've seen before. She goes, I can see on your notes where you've gone for treatment for this eye problem. She goes, this is a completely different eye clinic. It's in the same place, but it's more to do with the squint and the muscles. And she said they'll check your eyes, and they'll be able to tell you whether you can have eye surgery to correct the squint and straighten up the eye. And I was sort of like, okay, will that help my sight? And she said, well, I'm not sure because I don't deal with that. I don't deal with that kind of corrective surgery, so it may help the sight, it may not. It may be just cosmetic. But I'll book you in with them and you can speak with them about it. So I thought, okay, well, I'll give it a go. And last week, I went to see them and they were brilliant. They had a look in my eyes. I saw the ophthalmologist. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. But I saw him first and he was doing loads of different tests with all these weird looking magnifier things and letters on the wall and stuff, to try and test out the movement of my eyes and stuff, and to see how my lazy eye was working and how my squint was working and how it was affecting the movement in my eyes and stuff. And I was talking to him about like my sight, and I like saying to him about, I'm really worried that the issue I had with the irritation has caused some sight loss and stuff, and I'm worried that it's going to get worse and I'm going to lose sight in that eye. And he sort of like, he said, well, the squint and the lazy eye you won't lose sight because of that. He goes, it doesn't look like there's any irritation now, so I don't think you've got to worry about that. And even he said he couldn't see on my notes at all anything about the irritation, what the irritation was. There was obviously notes saying that I had been in to the hospital a few times to check up on this irritation or whatever, but there was no more information about what it was, what caused it, or anything like that. So still in the dark about that. So he kind of assured me, your sight seems roughly the same as it was back in 2018, 2019 sort of time, when you last had like major eye tests like this, and when you were last at your opticians and stuff. Your sight seems relatively the same. Maybe a little bit less, but that's normal because obviously with time your eyes do naturally deteriorate a little. So that's all normal. And I was like, right, okay. And he was talking me through about the lazy eye and the squint and stuff, and about how that would affect my sight, and about how correcting it may affect my sight for the worst, because he was saying something about panoramic vision, because I've got a lazy eye, people with lazy eyes and stuff like that, have what they call develop what they call panoramic vision, because the brain has to process. Obviously, if you're looking straight ahead forward with both your eyes, you're seeing this. But if you've got one eye that faces forward and one eye that faces that way, you're seeing that and that over there. So it's like panoramic vision. And he was saying about correcting that sometimes can cause the brain to get confused, because bringing your eye from there to there, and now you can see dead ahead rather than panoramic vision, your brain gets confused and you end up with double vision, because your brain's trying to process both eyes, and because it's seeing the same picture, it's getting really confused, kind of thing. That's kind of how he kind of explained it to me. But yeah, so then once I'd finished with him, I went to see the specialist doctor, eye doctor, and she talked me through the surgery again and everything like that, and she assured me, yeah, you're not going to lose your vision anytime soon. She's like, your vision is fine. And to be honest, throughout this whole 5 years of this whole debacle with my eyes, that's all I wanted to know, you know? All I wanted to know was my sight was going to be fine and I wasn't going to go blind, you know? And every time I asked those questions, I didn't get answers, you know? No straight answers at all. I just got more confusion and stuff like that. So that added to my anxiety. So for the past 5 years, I've been anxious about losing my sight, which is really scary, especially for someone who needs a wheelchair to get about. Because if I'm blind, I can't see where I'm steering. So that then impacts my independence again. And to be honest, I don't have a lot of independence at the moment. A little bit less at the moment, really, because my wheelchair is kaput and I no longer have a wheelchair at the moment. Get on to that in a minute. It's probably going to be a long video, by the way. But yeah, it'll definitely impact my independence, and it'll also impact my quality of life. It would impact my hobbies and stuff like that, because as some of you may know from some of the videos I've posted recently of me off by the river taking photos of the swans, the swan family, I have photography is one of my hobbies, and I've recently got back into it again, because I used to be big into it when I was younger, teenager, young adult, sort of 20s or whatever. I used to be big into it then, but then obviously a lot of stuff happened, life happened, and I no longer had the monies and time and good health and stuff like that to pursue it. So, and obviously where I ended up homeless and stuff like that, you know, you can't really be carrying around load of expensive camera equipment with you when you're street homeless. You know, you're gonna get robbed. So, and also it's very heavy, so trying to carry that around along with your tent and your sleeping bag and a massive rucksack full of clothes and food, yeah, it's not. So yeah, I had to kind of give that up And then obviously because my mobility got worse, and I couldn't get out doing hiking and cycling and everything like that anymore, I started to look more into doing some of my other hobbies, older hobbies, that don't really require a lot of mobility and activity. So the poetry stuff and photography, stuff like that. Obviously, where I like wildlife photography, that does involve a bit of hiking and stuff like that sometimes, which is why I've been looking into getting the all-terrain wheelchair. Again, we'll get more into that in a minute. So yeah, but to clear up all of the eye crap, my eyes are fine. I'm not losing my sight. It was really, really good. Like, it was really relieving to be told that. And yeah, I turned down the surgery because it would have been just cosmetic. And to be honest, I'm not worried about looking pretty. I don't really care about that. Obviously, look what I'm wearing. It's not really fashionable, tatty old hoodie. I'm still in my pyjamas. It is the morning and I had a really busy day yesterday, so I'm having a go slow day today. I will be showering, hopefully, maybe, we'll see. But yeah, yeah, so the surgery, I turned that down because obviously as well, because of my heart issues, my heart failure and stuff like that, it would be extremely dangerous for me to go under anaesthetic. I mean, it would be it's dangerous for anyone to go under anaesthetic, really, no matter what their health condition is. They could be the healthiest person on earth, but you know, it's still dangerous for them, you know. But for someone like me that has serious health condition and serious heart condition, yeah, it's even more dangerous. So I've opted out of that, and I've said, yeah, I'm not really worried about looking pretty. I'm not bothered. And also where they said as well, there is a possibility if we straighten up your eye, it could cause double vision. You know, I don't want to risk the sight that I have now. I mean, my sight's not perfect, but at least I have some sight, you know. And I don't want to risk that. So yeah, I've sort of said no to the surgery, but they have said to me if I change my mind, just to get back in contact or whatever, and they can arrange it and sort it out. But yeah, so I don't need surgery. My sight is fine, and that was a massive relief. You know, and then of course the wheelchair stuff, right? Sorry, I'm still trying to take my meds. Squeak's also on a go slow day today, because usually she'd be up at about 7:30 shouting at me. I say shouting, mewing loudly. Squeak is a cat, by the way, for those who don't know. She's my emotional support animal, and I'm her emotional support human, because she also has anxiety issues, quite major anxiety issues, so we kind of help each other out. But yeah, usually at about 7:30ish, she's awake, comes and bugs the crap out of me and starts shouting at me, um, you know, to remind me that it's nearly time for my meds. Um, because she knows at around about 7:30ish, I'll get up, go make a cup of tea, go sit down, um, maybe make a sandwich or a bite to eat or something, go sit down and take my meds at around 8 o'clock-ish. Yeah, and she's usually up because my medication alarm on my phone goes off at 8 o'clock, right? But she is there at 7:30, like bossing me about, like, come on, woman, get out of bed. You gotta go and take your meds. Come on, I don't want you dying on me, because if you die, who's gonna feed me? You know? No, she's lovely. But yeah, she's not done it today. She's actually having a lie-in today with John. It's not often that she'll cuddle John. The only time she'll cuddle up to John is when he's asleep, because he's quite a big guy, and he's a bit loud and he moves around a lot, you know. She gets a bit wary of him because of her anxiety. She's not scared of him. She's just like, oh, big dude's moving around again, I better get out of the way before he trips over me or something, you know. But she gets a bit wary of him. But at night when he's asleep, she'll go lay next to him for a little bit, cuddle up to him, and then in the mornings sometimes she'll have a lie-in with him and just cuddle up to him, and they're both there asleep. So that's what she's doing today, because she's not feeling well today. The past couple of days she's had issues with her stomach again. She's got constipation, bless her. And if it doesn't clear up in the next day or so, I've probably got to go and give her some medicine to try and clear it. I try not to give her too much like medicine. I try to go for the natural stuff first. Like, I give her fish oil and stuff like that with her breakfast each morning. Like the omega fish oils and stuff like that. That's really good for their like stomach, their fur, their skin. It's really good for everything, really. It's also good for their bones and their joints and stuff like that, especially for older cats. And Squeak now, she's getting on a bit. She's a bit old. I think she's at least 13, 14, maybe even 15 years old, something like that. She doesn't look it though. She looks like she's about 1 or 2 years old. She still looks like kitten age almost. And that's because she has some sort of hormonal imbalance, because both her mum and her dad, her dad came from a litter who had some sort of hormonal issues, and he wasn't as small as her, but he was quite a small cat, although you wouldn't be able to tell it because Fluffy was literally a giant ball of fluff, like just the fluffiest long fur you've ever seen. And her mum was like her, very small, very kitten-like still, and she also had hormonal imbalances or something like that as well. So yeah, Squeak and her sisters, there were 4 of them, Squeak and her sisters were all quite small cats. They were quite small when they were born, and yeah. But she's small, but I'd say she's feisty, but not in the way of teeth and claws. She won't attack you, you know, she's more of a lover than a fighter. And but she has a lot of sass and a lot of what you call it, sarcasm, you know, and occasionally passive aggression. But I think she's learnt most of that from me, really, because I'm a bit like that. But yeah, she's such a sweet tempered cat, and so affectionate and so loving, but she's scared of humans. The only human she has trust in is me. She'll let me pick her up. Well, I say she'll let me pick her up. She doesn't like heights, so I tend not to pick her up, because if I do it too much, it freaks her out, and I don't like to freak her out. But on occasion, she will, if she's in the right mindset and the right mood for it, she will allow me to pick her up and give her a quick cuddle and then put her down. But she'll let me give her belly rubs, she'll let me play with her paws, she'll let me stroke her. I can do anything I want to her, and she don't care. She's like, yeah, you're cool. Anyone else tries to stroke her without asking her first. You have to ask her first. I don't have to ask. But anyone else, including John, they have to ask her first if they can stroke her. And then she'll let them know yes or no. If it's a no, she'll give them a dirty look, and then she'll walk away. She'll kind of strut away as if to say, how dare you suggest such a thing, you know. The sarcasm again, and passive aggression. But yeah, she's, you know, anyone else tries to touch her paws, she'll give them a slap, you know. Usually with no claws, because she doesn't like confrontation, she doesn't like to hurt people. She'll just, no claws, slap with the paw as if to say, no, get off me, don't touch me, how dare you. But yeah, she's so sweet. At the moment, yeah, she's not feeling too well, so I'm just letting her chill out in the bedroom with John. I put her food down for her with her fish oil this morning, and she just kind of looked at me like, yeah, I'll get to that later, and then just went back to sleep. So, yeah. But yeah, I've gone off topic, haven't I? I was supposed to talk about wheelchair stuff that's going on, but got into talking about Squeak. But yeah, so wheelchair stuff. Now, if you remember the video I did for Southampton Pride, couple of weeks ago, no, was it a couple of weeks ago? Last month? Again, times and dates. But yeah, at some point this year, I went to Southampton Pride, and whilst at Pride, my wheelchair broke, the folding mechanism broke. Now, it was nothing to do with Pride, you know, because it happened whilst I was coming down off of the disabled access platform. I was coming down the ramp, and I heard like a clink sound, and I was like, oh, what was that? Was that my wheelchair? And then as I come off the ramp, I felt the wheelchair kind of fold slightly, and I was like, oh God, what was that? And I just sort of pulled to the side and flagged John down and was like, there's an issue with the wheelchair. So I had to get out and have a look, and yeah, the bolt on the folding mechanism was out. It was loose. It was like out of the frame, and I was like, okay, that's come undone. So John said, right, okay, what are we going to do now? So I was sort of like, right, well, why don't we go to the, so they have like a disability team there that deals with setting up the access, disability access, and looking after disabled people while they're at the event. And they were brilliant. We went to see them at their tent. They had like a tent gazebo thing, but we went to see them and just sort of like showed them what happened, and they were like, oh god, okay, right, we'll see if we can find something to do that up with. And they rushed off to go find some tools, and come back, done it up, and it seemed fine, and we were like, oh great, brilliant, it's sorted. Obviously while that bolt was loose, I couldn't use the wheelchair, so I had to walk from the disabled platform through the crowd to the disability team tent. And yeah, John was pushing my wheelchair, and even he said as he was pushing it, he could feel it as if it was about to fold up any second. Like he could feel the backrest giving as if it was about to fold down. So yeah, it would have been completely unsafe for me to drive it. But yeah, they managed to do the bolt up, and it seemed fine, and we were like, great, brilliant. So we carried on going round Pride, doing our thing and stuff. And then when we come back later and got home, I checked that bolt out to make sure it was still done up, and it wasn't. It was out of the frame again, and I don't know when that happened. I don't know how long it had been like that. I'm not sure if I was driving it while that was out, because that could have got really dangerous, really bad, especially trying to get on and off buses with that, you know, up them ramps on the buses and stuff. But yeah, luckily nothing happened. It didn't fold up while I was driving at home. But you know, so I thought, yeah, it's just, you know, an issue with the bolt maybe, or the something to do with the threads. So we sent it off to Able World, which is the mobility store I use. Mobility specialists and stuff. Yeah, they've had it for a couple of weeks and they've been looking it over. They've been trying to ring me actually all last week, but they couldn't get hold of me because they still had my old landline number, and I cut that off a couple of years ago. So obviously I've forgotten to update my number with them. But John said to me, right, because we ain't heard from them, why don't I give them a quick ring and see what's going on? And they were like, yeah, we've been trying to ring you. And like John's like, oh, what number have you got? And they were like, this one. And he was like, that's why. So he's given them my mobile number and his mobile number, so they can get in contact with me easier now. But yeah, we went in there yesterday to speak with them so they could show me the wheelchair and the damage and talk me through it all. Basically, now it can be fixed, but it's gonna require brand new parts from the company that made the wheelchair. Obviously, the iGo wheelchair now is discontinued, but the company still has parts, I guess, in storage, or they can still make the parts if needed. But them parts are gonna cost a good couple of £100 apparently. I'm still waiting on them to give me a full quote on that. But yeah, it's probably going to cost me the same amount as a new wheelchair, roughly, you know. So basically, because what it is, the iGo has a very strange design. The guy in the mobility shop yesterday was talking me through it, and he said this is the only wheelchair I've seen this kind of design on, and it's flawed. It doesn't make sense. And he was saying about the folding mechanism, they have a weird kind of bolt that goes into the actual frame, and there's a big long bar across the bottom of the frame, which is part of the frame, and there's like these screw holes as part of the frame, and the threads inside the screw holes on that part of the frame are sheared off, they're gone. And they said they have nothing that can fix that, so it would need a new part. Now the problem is where that part connects to the rest of the frame at the back, they would need to replace the folding mechanism, the bottom of the frame of the wheelchair, and the backrest frame, and everything like that as well. They'd have to replace all of that. Basically, the front of the wheelchair, the foot pedals and the front wheels and stuff, fine, perfect, brilliant. The rest of it, kaput. So yeah, they can get the parts, but like he said, it's probably going to cost a couple of £100. So he's going to sort out a full quote for me. He's going to be ringing me sometime this week to give me the full quote, and then we're going to see what we're going to do from there on, because I was talking with him and said, look, I've been looking into getting a new wheelchair anyway, an all-terrain wheelchair. So maybe instead of paying out to fix the iGo, maybe I could just scrap the iGo and I could use that money to pay towards a new wheelchair instead. And he said, yeah, definitely we can do that. And he showed me a couple of models he had in the store already. And I said, the only problem is some of these wheelchairs are ranging from like £1,000 to £5,000, you know. So I was like, the only problem is I can't afford that price tag. And he's like, yeah, I see what you mean. And I said, do you offer any financing stuff? And he said, yes, we have a financing company. They are a little bit strict with their criteria, but I can put you in touch with them maybe, and we can look into that. He said you should be eligible. He kind of asked about how much money we kind of get, and I told him, and he said, yeah, I've known people that get less money than you that have managed to secure this funding. So hopefully you should be able to get funding from our finance company. So it's basically, I guess it's like a loan almost. So the finance company pays for the wheelchair for you, then you pay them back in installments. So it makes the payment more manageable, so I haven't got to pay one giant lump sum. I can pay just a little bit at a time, which makes it easier. So yeah, I've got to get all the information I need ready for that. So I'm going to be doing that hopefully in the next couple of days, because the financing company is going to need to know everything about my finances. So how much money I get, whether I get benefits, whether my partner gets benefits if we work, if we don't work. They're going to need to know how much money we make together in a year or something like that. They're going to need to know what our outgoings are, so how much we pay out each year or each month or whatever. They're going to need to know all of that. So we've got to work all that out and write all that down and have that ready, because I like to be prepared, you know. So then it is so then I can maybe look into that. But I'm also been looking into the NHS personal wheelchair budget. It's like a new thing that's been brought out. Well, I say new, I think they've had it for a few years, but it's new to me. I mean, because NHS wheelchair wise, last time I was with them was quite a few years ago, and I gave up on it because they had a wheelchair list, which is where the NHS loans you one of their wheelchairs for however long you need it, right? And there is a massively long waiting list because it's not first come, first serve. It's based on who is in more need. So I could be there first in the queue, but someone behind me could turn up and they'll be in more need than me, so they'll get bumped to the front of the queue. Which, honestly, that should be how it works, you know. So I have no problem with that. But it was the fact that I was sat there for several years waiting for a wheelchair, didn't get anything, and I've known people that have been sat on it like 10 years or more waiting for a wheelchair. You know, and in this time they've been stuck at home, not been able to get out and about and do stuff. They've had to be weighted on hand and foot almost, because they can't get out and they can't manoeuvre around themselves because they don't have a wheelchair. So, you know, I ended up having a crowdfund for the IGO, which was brilliant, really. I wasn't expecting the donations for that to come in quite so quickly. I wasn't really expecting to get any donations. I thought, well, maybe I'll get a couple of donations from like family and close friends or something, but you know, and it'll probably take a good few months or a year or two to get the full amount or something, you know. But no, I think it was Just Giving I did it with. Might have been a different one. But I put that page up, that link up on Facebook and everything, set that up, and by that evening, I believe it was, I had the full amount I needed for the IGO. Everyone was just like sharing the link and being like, yeah, come on, let's help her out, let's give her some monies. So yeah, it's brilliant. But I don't want to crowdfund. I want to try and avoid crowdfunding all the time for everything I need, you know, because I feel like I'm being a bit cheeky doing that. I did it for the IGO because I was in like desperate need for the wheelchair, and every avenue I went down to secure funding or get wheelchairs from NHS or whatever failed, and yeah, I needed the wheelchair. So someone mentioned to me about crowdfunding and everything, and I thought I'll give it a go, see what happens. Yeah, and it turned out really well. So but I don't want to I want to leave that. I don't want to, I mean, it is a possibility I might do that later on if every other financing avenue or NHS avenue doesn't work. I might end up having to crowdfund a little, but hopefully not. But yeah, the NHS personal wheelchair budget, I've been looking into that, and there is a lot of information about it online, which is really good. But the only problem is there's not much information really on how you apply for it. So I believe that maybe you have to be referred to it by maybe some kind of social worker or support worker, or someone who works in the social care system, maybe, which is okay. But the problem is, I don't have a support worker, I don't have a social worker. I mean, I've tried to get social workers over the years and support workers, but I keep being told sorry. Basically, they tell me you're not disabled enough, so we can't help you. Which confuses me, because I'm like, okay, how disabled do I have to be? Because I have friends that are less disabled than me. I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's a competition, I'm more disabled, I'm more deserving. I'm not, that's not what I'm saying. We all have different levels, different skills, different abilities. No one's less deserving or more deserving of help. We all deserve help, in the same way. But I'm making a point, I've got friends that are less disabled than me, but they are entitled to social workers and support workers, and they have all of that. So I'm really confused. I'm like, okay, what kind of disability do I have to have? Is my disability not the right kind? Because I have friends with cerebral palsy that get all the help, and I'm like, okay, well, is this help only available for people that have cerebral palsy? I have friends that have autism that get the help. I have autism, but I also have Marfan syndrome and other stuff, so. And I think that's part of the problem, really, because my disabilities are so complex, because I have so many different disabilities. I have physical disabilities that affect mobility and stuff like that, and I have mental and intellectual disabilities too. So I think that's where things get confusing for all these social workers and stuff, because when they hear about my condition, they're probably expecting to find someone who cannot advocate for themselves, someone who cannot speak, someone who cannot move around on their own, someone who's bedridden. That's probably what they're expecting. But when they actually meet me and they realise, oh, hang on a minute, and I'm able to hold a conversation with them, because I've learned from a young age how to cope. I've learned coping mechanisms to deal with meetings with social workers, because my family has dealt with social workers ever since I was like a little baby or whatever, so I've learnt from a young age how to develop coping mechanisms and how to deal with those kinds of interactions and interactions with doctors and stuff like that. Some days I can't do that because my mental health isn't at 100%, so some days I'm very vocal and very articulate and very social and very able to advocate for myself. But then other days I'm not. Other days I'm too anxious to be social. I'm too fatigued to be able to use my, what is it called, executive functioning and cognitive abilities and stuff, or I may be having issues with autistic meltdown or autistic sensory overload, which affects my ability to communicate, So, what was it? I saw a meme on Facebook recently. Someone in the disabled community shared, what was it? About some people have, I can't remember exactly what it said. Brain is soup. I think I shared it though. I shared it to my own personal page, I think. I might have to go and share it to the Chronically Suki Facebook page as well later. That was it. Dynamic disabilities. Some people have dynamic disabilities, and I thought, that's a really good way of putting it, And it explains what dynamic disability means. And I thought, I've never heard that before, but that is a really good way of putting it. So basically, dynamic disability is where someone has a disability that varies day to day. So one day they could be extremely mobile, but then the next day, because of health declining or because of fatigue or pain or whatever, they may not be very mobile. So yeah, that it makes sense. Dynamic disability. So basically, I have a dynamic disability. But yeah, I will share that meme to the Chronically Suki Facebook page later. If you want to go check that out later. If I remember. If I forget and you do want to see that, just drop a comment under this video on YouTube or send me a message on the Chronically Suki page and remind me, because literally my brain is soup. So yeah, where was I? So yeah, my disability changes day to day. Some days I'm fine, some days I'm not. And because of that, I think that confuses people as well, because they're expecting to meet a person who cannot do anything for themselves, and then they meet me, who is perfectly able to sit and chat with them, and they're expecting to meet someone who is not intelligent. And to be honest, I'm not trying to brag, but I think I have above average intelligence. I've always been told I have above average intelligence, but obviously that probably varies from day to day as well, because of my cognitive abilities and fatigue and so yeah. So that's like, it's a gift and a curse really, that, because if I'm too vocal and if I advocate for myself too much, I don't get the help I need. But then if I don't advocate for myself, I don't get the help I need. So basically, I need someone who will advocate for me, which is what John does. But the problem is, sometimes John doesn't know how to go about doing things, because we have to remember John also has disabilities. John's also on the autistic spectrum, and he has ADHD, and he has mental health issues himself. So sometimes he gets confused with the system. And to be honest, the way the system is, I think the smartest person in the world would get confused with the system, It's a stupid system, they need to fix it, But yeah, basically I need someone to advocate for me. To be able to get what I need and be listened to, I need someone else to be my voice. I need a carer to be like, right, okay, I'm a carer for a disabled person. They're struggling with this. I'd like to get help to get them help. So basically, John has to go and get help for himself so he can help me, which is really, really stupid. So at the moment, John's kind of on a waiting list or waiting to hear back from Southampton Adult Social Services or whatever. Because he's a carer for a disabled person, he's entitled to a support worker or a social worker from them to help him. So basically, he said once he gets this support worker or whatever, he's going to speak with them and see if they can help out or point us in the right direction to the NHS wheelchair personal budget fund thing. So basically, I'm not allowed to have a voice in this whole social care system. I'm not allowed to advocate for myself. I'm not allowed a voice. How dare I speak up for myself? That's basically how it feels, you know? You're disabled, no one wants to hear from you. Oh look, here's your carer. We'll hear from them instead. Why not listen to the disabled person? Who knows better about a disabled person's disabilities than the disabled person? Who knows better how disabilities affect a disabled person's life than that disabled person? You know? So shut up, speak to the disabled person. By all means, yes, speak to the carer as well. You know, speak to family members as well that help out to get a proper view, a wider picture of what's going on. But speak to the disabled person, allow them to use their voice. And remember that communication works in many different ways. It's not always vocal, you know? So, yeah. I mean, even non-verbal people, non-verbal autistic people, they have their own way of communicating. I mean, stimming, autistic stimming can be a form of communication. You know, you could, by watching a autistic person and their stimming, you can tell what they are feeling. So they're usually stims like rocking backwards and forwards. Usually that kind of stim, usually most autistic people use that stim to soothe anxiety. I know that's what I use that stim for, and quite a few of my friends as well, autistic friends, use that stim to ease anxiety and whatnot. Flappy hands is one I do a lot when I'm overly excited. That helps regulate my excitement. And again, a lot of my autistic friends do that same thing when they're overly excited. So reading stems and stuff as well will give you a good indication on how a non-verbal autistic person is feeling. You know, but the system doesn't really account for anything like that. The system doesn't want to hear from the disabled person, you know, and that's wrong. That is wrong. We need to change that. So yeah, if you're autistic, if you're disabled in any way, don't let people shut you up. Okay? Don't let them speak for you all the time. If you've got something to say, say it. If they don't listen, shout it. There you go. That's what we need to do. We need to start shouting. our needs. We need to make ourselves heard. But yeah, and that's what I've started doing. I mean, because John's great at advocating for me. I tell him what I need, he then relays it to the people. So basically, he's like a middleman. And I think sometimes he gets confused and stressed out because I know what I need. I know how the system works around this thing I need, but John doesn't. So then I'm trying to explain it to John so he understands it, so he's able to explain it to the people that can help me with that. Right? And then John gets really confused, and that affects John's mental health and John's autism and stuff like that. And it can cause a meltdown for him because he then gets overly stressed and anxious and whatnot. So, yeah, like, it'd just be easier if they just listened to me instead of ignoring me, you know? But yeah, I've started to be like, well, no, you're going to listen to me. And John's just sort of like took a step back and let me run with it because I've been working on my social anxiety and stuff and trying to get better at advocating for myself and speaking to people and whatnot. So he's been sort of taking a step back when he can see that, yeah, I'm in an okay mood and frame of mind to do it for myself. He'll step back and let me do it. But if I'm not in an okay state of mind, he will then be like, right, okay, and he'll step in for me, you know, which is really good. Yeah. So, yeah, the wheelchair situation, basically, I've got to wait for them to ring me back with a quote on how much it's going to cost to fix the iGo. And then we're going to go from there and see what happens. And John's going to be hopefully talking with a social worker sometime soon, hopefully, and sorting out, seeing if we can get them to point us in the direction of the NHS funding. And then I'm going to be looking into the financing. The Able World has their own financing company they work with to finance, to help people finance wheelchairs and stuff. Excuse me. Getting very dry throat. Probably because I'm talking too much. But yeah, so it's just a waiting game at the moment and doing a bit of paperwork and stuff like that. So fingers crossed, it's looking good because the guy in Able World yesterday said it looks like, from what you've told me, that you will be eligible for the financing with our financing company. So get all that information you need for that ready. So I'm going to do that and be absolutely prepared for that, just in case I need to use that avenue. John's going to be looking into the NHS wheelchair fund and the social workers for me. So yeah, we're organised, we've got this down, we can do this, and hopefully I will have a new all-terrain wheelchair by next year, hopefully by next summer, hopefully before then, hopefully by Christmas. That would be ideal. Hopefully by tomorrow. That would be ideal. I mean, you know, but that's not going to happen. It's probably going to take a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months before I can get a new wheelchair. In the event that it's not a possibility to get funding, then I'm just going to have to settle for paying for the repairs on the iGo and carry on using the iGo while I save up more for a new wheelchair. But it's looking good. Fingers crossed we can get funding and financing and whatever, But yeah, it was quite stressful at the start of the day yesterday, dealing with all of that, because we dealt with that in the morning. And then when we'd finished there, I said to John, look, I know I don't have my wheelchair and I'm not great at walking around, but I don't want to go home yet, because I spent all that time this morning getting ready and getting out in all of that anxiety, and now I'm out and about, and I've got some good news today. I feel a little bit better, and I feel like maybe we should not go home yet. And John was like, oh, I want to go home. I was like, oh, well, and I said to him, well, maybe we could pop into town, because we did want to get tickets to go and see Rosie Jones. So maybe we could go and get those today, because we were planning on going in sometime this week and getting them. So I said to him, well, let's go in today and pick those up, and maybe we can go and get lunch somewhere and then come home, So we did that. We went into town and we kind of nosed around a few shops a bit. There's a new American candy shop thing that's opened up in our town centre, and yeah, I was powerless when walking past it. I'm not sponsored by any of these brands, by the way. They're just some of my favourite American candies. I've already eaten some of them. But yeah, I was powerless. I was drawn in. It was like a Suki magnet they had switched on, and I was just drawn into it. And then, of course, when we were in there looking around, John got distracted by some candy he saw and wandered off and left me unsupervised. And then I kind of walked up to John, went and found him, and I was juggling an arm full of candies and sodas. I got some of these different flavoured sodas, like Warhead sour sodas and stuff as well. I am a massive child when it comes to candy. I am. Can't help it. But yeah, I kind of walked up to John juggling this armful of like candies and drinks and stuff, and trying to carry my walking stick and limp across to him. And he kind of turned around and looked at me and was like, yeah, I'm going to get a basket for you. I was like, yeah. But yeah, kind of cheered me up yesterday, managing to get the tickets for Rosie Jones. For those who don't know, Rosie Jones is a comedian, and she has, I believe it's cerebral palsy she's a disabled comedian, one of my favourite comedians. So yeah, me and John are going to see her, I think it's on the 19th. So yeah, that's going to be amazing. That cheered me up, getting those tickets. And then getting the candy, that cheered me up a little bit. I really like retail therapy. I like to go and spend money when I'm feeling a bit depressed, which is probably not great, especially when you need to be paying out for wheelchairs and stuff. But yeah, where I didn't have to pay anything at the moment for the wheelchair, I thought, well, just spend a little bit of money to cheer myself up. But yeah, and then we bought a couple of these cool new like board games and card games. John bought one and I bought one. So because we're planning on having like a board game, card game night with our friends again soon, hopefully. And I thought, yeah, we'll just pick up a few new ones to play. That'll be cool. And then we went and got lunch, a pub lunch, which was nice. And then we come home. And last night we were just sat watching stuff on, like, I think it was like Netflix, and scoffing sweets and pizza and stuff. So yeah, it was really cool. It started off really stressful yesterday, but then it got better, and we just kind of... So I feel a bit better today. I'm a little bit tired. I'm planning on going out tonight, I think, to an open mic somewhere. But yeah, enjoy some live music and stuff. So yeah, and then probably the rest of the week I don't have anything to do. So the rest of the week I'm probably going to use to relax, because I have had a couple of days of busyness. So I am going to need to schedule some time for myself to relax. Because I've had a lot of busyness, a lot of anxiety the past week or two, so I need time to relax. So yeah, that's basically what's been happening lately. Yeah, I don't even want to get into anything on the neighbour front, because we've got new neighbours that have moved in, I believe, upstairs. And during the day they're really quiet, not a peep from them. But at night, all night, they're banging on the floor, slamming doors, playing loud music, screaming, shouting at each other, laughing really loudly. So it's a bit tricky to get sleep. You know. They even hang out their windows and shout out their windows to people outside, like their friends or whatever. I think they even shout across to the other tower block to people over there that they know. It's like, dude, use Facebook, you know? Do what normal people do. Instead of shouting at like fucking 3 o'clock in the morning at your friends across the way and waking the whole neighbourhood up, why not just use Facebook Messenger? You know, it's free. Or better yet, just pop round and see your friend, you know. But yeah, the neighbour next door, I'm not going to speak too loudly about him because he's been moving around in his kitchen and I heard him whilst sat here banging around. I don't want to upset him. But yeah, he's not been shouting abuse at us or anything like that recently. We've heard him banging a little bit. Mainly it seems like he's banging his walls or his floor or ceiling or whatever at the neighbours upstairs who are being noisy. So I think he's decided to leave us alone now and target them upstairs instead, you know. So that's kind of good. And John did say to me maybe he's moved out because he heard some other people in there the other day shouting out their window upstairs because upstairs was being too noisy. So whoever was next door was shouting at them to shut up. But it wasn't our usual neighbour. So either he had friends over or, I don't know, they've moved him out and moved someone else in. Maybe that's why he hasn't been targeting us. I don't know. But, you know, I don't want to get too much into all of that at the moment because, yeah. I'm just trying my best to ignore the noisy neighbours now, and because complaining to the council and the police and everything about it is no good, because they never do anything. So I'm just trying my best to ignore it. I've got some new wireless headphones which are noise cancelling, so when it gets too noisy for me, I just put these on and listen to my game, my TV, or my music, or whatever, which has been helping. So yeah. But yeah, not much else has been happening. That's about it, really. I just thought I'd do this quick vlog to update you all on what's been going on, because I haven't made many videos lately, like I said. Well, I have made a few, but I've not posted them. Mainly I've been messing around with like gaming videos and stuff, like practicing how to edit gaming videos, and do different effects and do cuts and transitions and stuff like that with them. But I've not really been posting any of them because they're not good enough to post. They're just me messing around practicing with it, really. I do want to do some more gaming videos soon though, to put on my YouTube, but I've got to be in the right mindset to do it, and it's very technical, and obviously where the microphone I have is very sensitive, with all the noise that goes on here, is really difficult, because literally my microphone will pick up the banging from upstairs and like screaming and shouting, so I don't really want that in the background of a gaming video, that's going on YouTube. Yeah, and also it's very technical as well with gaming videos. The amount of software I've got to use on my computer and stuff, and then obviously my Xbox, and I've got to stream my Xbox to my computer and then record that stream with another program on my computer and set it all up, and it's very, very touchy, the software. So yeah, because at the moment I can't record PC games on my computer, because my computer is not, I'm still running Ryzen 7, I believe it is. I don't know much about computers and stuff. But yeah, my graphics and CPU, or whatever you call it, I don't know, PC technical stuff, it's not strong enough to run the game and the capture kind of software that I use. So the game just ends up, and the video ends up laggy and just bleh. Really bad picture, really bad sound. Yeah, and then it freezes and crashes. So like, I can't record PC gaming videos, which PC gaming videos are a little bit easier to do, really, I found, because I haven't got to stream from an Xbox to an app, and then from that app to another app, and it's very technical and annoying, and I have to be in the right mindset to do it. So I've just been messing around with little bits of videos that I've captured and of Xbox games, and mainly Minecraft. I love doing videos of Minecraft. I know it's probably been overdone on YouTube and stuff, Minecraft videos, but I still enjoy doing it, because Minecraft's such a creative game, and there's so many different little aspects of it and different ways to play it and stuff. It's really fun to make videos on it. So yeah. But I think I'm gonna probably shut up now because this video is over an hour long. Christ almighty. It's over an hour long. Right, but yeah, oh, Squeak's come in the room. I'll leave her alone. She's asleep on the sofa. I don't know if you'll be able to see her. Excuse the mess on the sofa. Can you see her there just behind the wash basket giving herself a scratch? You're right, Squeak. No. She's like, no, you're filming me, go away. Oh, are you coming to sit up here now? Are you coming to say hello? Hi. Do you want to say hello to the people? I'm about to stop this video. About to close this video out. Do you want to come and say hi and bye? Yeah? Okay, let me pick this up. Excuse my hand. There we go, say hi then. She's so cute. Aren't you? You're so cute. See how sweet she is. She's such a sweet little soul, aren't you? Yeah. Your favourite thing in the world is cuddles, isn't it? And kisses, yeah. She's such a sweet little soul. Purring like crazy. Right, yeah, shall we shut up now? Shall we let these people go? Because this video is like over an hour long. Mummy's been chatting for over an hour. But yeah, I think it's like, well, over an hour and a half now. I think this is probably going to be the longest video on my YouTube. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. And I shall speak to you later. Bye-bye. And there you go. Wave bye-bye from Squeak. Bye. See you later, guys.